Hey guys, today I wanted to show you one of my all-time favorite recipes. I know I say that about every recipe that I show you, but this really is number one. It's my baked meatballs. It's perfect for kind of any special occasion. My husband requests it every birthday and I like making them for holidays like Christmas Eve. So let me show you how to do it. Okay, so the backstory to this recipe is it was inspired by a restaurant I used to go to in San Francisco. There's this amazing restaurant, well I guess they have two restaurants now, A16, both in San Francisco and Oakland. And every Wednesday night they would have a meatball dinner. And this is kind of my version of their meatball dinner. Okay, let's get started. So in this bowl, I've got 1.5 pounds of ground beef and 1.5 pounds of ground pork. If you wanted to do all beef, you can, or all pork, or even all kind of ground chicken. It's up to you and like your personal preferences. I like kind of a mix of the beef and the pork. So to this, I'm gonna add 3 eggs. I'm gonna add 2 slices of thick cut bacon. So I've got half a cup of ricotta cheese, a half a cup of breadcrumbs. And if you wanted to make these gluten-free, you could obviously just use gluten-free breadcrumbs. I've got a teaspoon of oregano, a teaspoon of fennel seeds, a 1/4 cup of chopped parsley. You could use dried as well, but I would use 2 tablespoons instead. And then a big pinch of salt, and then a pinch of red pepper flakes. You can add whatever kind of heat you want. I'm kind of a wimp when it comes to heat, so I'm just gonna add a little bit. And then we're gonna mix together. So you could use a spoon to mix this all together, but I think your hands are easier. What does people say? Like they're like nature's best tools? I don't know. But just use your hands, it's easy. It gets a little messy, but it's worth it. So just get on in there and give it a mix. So my husband's birthday is coming up in a couple weeks. And I'm gonna make these for him. They're also a great recipe that freezes really well. So you can make the meatballs, just completely make it, bake it, and then just throw it in the freezer and let it hang out in the freezer until you're ready to eat. I wouldn't leave it in the freezer longer than 2 months, but up until 2 months, it's great. It's a really great make-ahead recipe. And now we're gonna portion them out into a 9x13 baking tray. You can use a baking sheet. I'm using kind of like a casserole dish that I've sprayed lightly with some nonstick spray. So I know this might seem weird, but I'm gonna use an ice cream scoop to portion out these meatballs. It makes it easier and it kind of creates even meatballs. One of the reasons that I love these meatballs so much, I think it's the combination of the pork and the ground beef and also the bacon in there. It makes everything very tasty. I also think the ricotta helps to make these super juicy and moist. So depending on the size of your meatballs, you'll either use 1 or 2 9x13 casserole dishes. So since they're not perfectly round, I'm just gonna shape them really quickly, but this is totally optional. They'll still bake perfectly well if you don't shape them into perfect balls. So I made these meatballs for Christmas last year and my brother-in-law kind of like died for them. I called like a couple days later and he'd frozen the meatballs and then basically was just eating them one by one, defrosting in the microwave and then eating them one by one, like I think up until like New Year's Eve. So he was obsessed. This recipe makes about 20 individual meatballs and I think 2 to 3 per person is a good amount. So I'm gonna throw these into a 425-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes just to get them brown, and then we're gonna top it with some tomato sauce. Okay, so my meatballs have been in the oven for about half an hour and they're nice and kind of golden brown. One of the things I love about this recipe is that you don't need to stand over the stovetop browning each meatball. You literally just put it all in the pan that you're baking it in, throw it into the oven, and it browns itself basically. So next up, I'm gonna put the tomato sauce on top of it. I'm just using crushed tomatoes that I bought at the grocery store. It's super easy, just make sure you get unsalted tomatoes. No need to buy any special tomato sauce. We're just gonna pour this right over it. And if you want these to be saucier, like if you're gonna serve them with spaghetti or some type of pasta, you could do 2 of these cans. But I think 1 28-ounce of crushed tomatoes is perfect. And then we're gonna add a big pinch of salt. Okay, we're gonna spread the tomato right over the meatballs. We're gonna lower the temperature of the oven to about 325, and we're gonna bake for 1 hour. So my meatballs are out of the oven and my house smells amazing and they look incredible too. So before we can dig in, let's garnish it. Let's make it like a little classy. So I'm just gonna tear some basil right over it. Now we're ready to taste. This is like my dream meal. I mean, so easy and so delicious as I'm getting it everywhere, but so easy and so delicious. This is my kind of food and a total crowd pleaser. In addition to the basil, you could also dust some Parmesan cheese on top of it, but I'm good. I'm just really ready to dig in. That was the world's largest bite. These are so good. I've made them so many times, and every time I taste them, I'm just blown away with how tasty and how easy these are. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and make sure to hit subscribe as I upload new recipe videos each week.